So y'all, on today's episode of It Goes Down in the Prison, let me tell y'all. So I got put in restrictive housing today. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, restrictive housing is where the inmates go when they do something bad or they need like protective custody. They get separated in these small cells by themselves. It's only their bunk, the toilet, and the sink. So I'm in restrictive housing and I get to chatting it up with the inmates. Now, disclaimer, I treat them all like people on the street, strangers on the street. Whatever crime they did, they already incarcerated for it. You know what I mean? I'm not there to condemn them even more. So I'm talking to this young lady and I heard a lot of stories today, but this one in particular stands out because this girl is so young. She's only 24, y'all. The girl told me she ended up in jail because she was addicted to meth. And one day she ended up tweaking out, thinking people was trying to kill her. And she ran around the town butt naked and stuff, like trying to get away from these people that's trying to kill her. And in the midst of it, she ended up putting her hands on family members, like beating up her parents and stuff like that. So fast forward, we just chatting it up and she talking to me and I'm listening because I like the tea. Anyhow, the girl get to telling me about a specific officer. Now here's where the tea come in at, right? So in restrictive housing, there's two sides. Some prisons have more. My particular prison has two sides, A side and a B side. There's usually one officer on A side, one officer on B side, one officer that's in this little box called the picket, and he controls the doors. But on this particular night, the girl said it was only one officer on the floor running two sides, both A and B side, and it was one officer in the little box in the picket. So now, this girl and this officer made up this whole crazy plan to kill a spider in her cell. Now, how the cells are set up is the bunk is lifted off the ground. So like you have to climb up a little ladder to get onto the bunk. It's like a bunk bed with no bottom, if y'all can imagine that. So their plan was her to be sitting on the bunk while he's trying to kill a spider, right? Now imagine while she's sitting on the bunk, he's tall enough for it to be face to cooch to crotch. See what I'm saying? That was their plan. So while she's sitting down on the bunk, he's gonna be standing up much. Y'all get it? So she said as she started taking off her trousers, okay, as she started dropping them drawers, she said the officer that was in the picket came out of the picket and was like, what is going on in here? I don't see no spider, blah, 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 and pulled the dude out. Now, what gets me is this officer had a whole wife and kids at home. That's crazy to me. But it's not the first time. It happens all of the time. These officers get up in here and they sleep with each other and they sleep with these inmates. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So I was telling the girl, I was like, tell me his name. Tell me his name. Like, what officer is it? What officer is it? She was like, girl, I'm not going to tell you his name because I don't want to mess up the chance of getting my box ate. Excuse me? And it's so crazy because the hygiene in the prisons are not great at all. They're not even good. And you want to munch and crunch on something and then go back home to your wife? I'm baffled. And then you don't even really, you don't know these inmates. This girl was addicted to meth. Who knows whatever else, what all she was doing? Who knows? I don't know. I just thought to share that with y'all because it was some tea for me. So I decided to give y'all a little tea. Let me know if y'all want to keep hearing more prison stories. I got a few of them.
He was like 5'8", 5'9". He wasn't too tall,
but he was bald-headed, dark-skinned, and very white teeth. Like, I always noticed how white his teeth was. Anyways, I would start seeing him around the compound. At first, I would only see him in one specific area, like where he slept at and stuff. But then he started making his way around the compound. So one day I stopped him and I asked him, like, when you get a job, you know, pulling trash, because that's what he used to try to do, like pull trash and shit. So he was like, oh, this not my job. I just started doing it because I got bored. I was like, oh, okay. Because who am I to stop him? Nobody. So he would like come to the dorms and give out materials needed, like cleaning supplies, trash bags, paper towels, stuff like that. So one day, me and my friend, we was on the yard. We was just chilling, talking to each other or whatever. And he had came up. I think he was asking. He was asking something, but I was just like, "What you in prison for?" So he was like, "Okay." Mind you, before this, I felt like he was mentally stable. I didn't have no kind of like preconceived notions about him. So once again, I said, "What you in prison for?" He was like, okay, I'll talk about it. So I keep side-eyeing my friend, like, so he like, well, I had got this woman pregnant. He said her name or whatever, but I don't remember. But he was like, I got her pregnant, and like during her pregnancy, she started getting on my nerve, and I just didn't want to be with her no more. So I started dating somebody else. So I'm just like, okay. So he was like, and when I started dating somebody else, I never told her about like my pregnant BM. So him and the girlfriend go back to his home. The BM is over there, right? She waiting on him. So the BM started going off on him. So the girlfriend, she thrown off, like, what the hell going on? Like, who the hell is this? What's going on? Because as far as she knew, that was her man. So why this man said out of his mouth that the BM yelling at him, then the girlfriend started yelling at him. He was like, I told them to shut up, like, but they would not shut up. Like, they kept yelling at him. He was like, I just can't take it. Like, I couldn't take it. He said, so I started stabbing my BM. So I'm looking at my friend, and she looking at me, and she looked at him. She was like, you killed her? He was like, yeah. And then he was just like, it's like he zoned out, like he was having a vision. He probably was having a flashback. He was like, and I just love the smell of blood. Like, he said, I just started smelling her blood, and I just could not stop. So I said, you couldn't stop what? He was like, I couldn't stop stabbing her. Yo, I was like, what? I was like, you fucking lying. He was like, no. He was like, no. He pushed his glass up. He was like, I'm dead ass serious. So now I'm like backing up a little bit, and I'm pulling my friend back like, bitch, you better back up, because he looking like he want a part 2 of that. So she's so fucking nosy. She like, so what you mean you like the smell of her blood? He was like, I don't know what it was. Like, I just like, he was like, I was just so in love with the smell of blood. He was like, I just want to smell it again. And I was just like, what the fuck? Yo, like I said, I would have never known that things like this been on this man's mind. So a couple days later, right, we was off of work, but he did it when we was off. Why the hell the same sergeant that got in Holiday face and I was going to make him click out, the same lady got in his face and she said something to him? Why the hell this man clicked out and he went around in the dorm punching all of the windows out of the damn hallway corridor thing? Like the little bubble, he was punching it out with his bare hands, headbutting it, everything. Yo, they had to get new fucking installation windows because this man broke every window. They had to ship him out. I said, oh, there ain't nothing that y'all could do with him. I said, he was on the verge already. Like, I just kept remembering the conversation. Like, this man was really crazy. And y'all, guess what his nickname was? Monster. I do not remember his actual, like, his real name for nothing, but I just remember his nickname, Monster. But when you see him, you would think, like, yo, he's mad cool, he's chill, he's respectful. You never know. And to top it off, when I went to do my homework on this man, this is how his inmate picture looked. Just like this. Y'all, he was a bug out.
I worked at a male prison when I was 20 and 21 years old. So I'm going to tell a story about a time I found out that one of the inmates was on K2. If you don't know what K2 is, it's a synthetic, and that stuff can have you and hallucinating and seeing the devil. At the time, a lot of Texas prisons were having this problem with K2 being brought into the prison. Of course, it was being brought in by the COs. If y'all want to play dumb, play dumb. Crazy story is my ex was actually bringing in K2, but that's another story. So anyways, I had noticed that one of the SSIs, a SSI is basically a custodian, janitor. They get special privileges, like they get to be out, because I work night shift. They get to be out in the hallway all day, cleaning up, doing stuff like that, delivering messages from the desk to the correction officers. Not like crazy messages, but you know, like saying so-and-so said to do this type thing. So it was this one SSI, and I would work this wing sometimes. I mostly would work in the hallways, but one day I was working a wing, and over time I noticed that he was starting to act different. He started being in the hallways more, but he wasn't doing his job. Like usually he would be cleaning up like he's supposed to, but now he would just like run in the hallways. Then this one particular day, he didn't come out at all. So I'm like, that's weird. Like, why is he not out cleaning up at all? Like, you supposed to come out at least do your job. You not off. If I'm at work, you at work. And they didn't work, 24/7, but they worked on our shift. So like when I worked my 4 days, he worked his 4 days, and then he had his 4 days off. Also, when I was like walking the wing, he had his sheet up. If you ever been in prison or worked at a prison, you know they're not supposed to have up no sheet. His cellmate worked in the kitchen, so he wasn't in there because he worked overnight, so it wasn't none of that going on. He usually would speak to me or just anything. Like I would see his face. I didn't see him. So I'm like, this is weird. Like, he hasn't come out all day. He didn't say nothing to nobody. Like, what is going on? So I'm just being like suspicious the whole day. And like I said, I was already suspicious because he, I guess you could say, wasn't on his best behavior. Like he was acting out and, doing things he wasn't supposed to be doing. Like I said, running the hallways and stuff like that. His cellmate comes back in the morning and he didn't want to go in. So I'm like, that's weird, because they get along really good. Like, not on no weird stuff, but they always like got along. They never had issues or anything like that. He had this, scared look on his face. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know he not in here beating up this dude, because, what's going on? They beefing or what? Y'all, I walked past to do my last count. He handed me a note. If you're about to start working at a prison, do not take notes from inmates. But inmates didn't give me weird notes, so I knew that it was something going on. I read the note, and he told me like the dude was doing K2 basically. When I tell you I was shaking because I never dealt with a situation like this, the sheet was still up. Like he had the sheet by the toilet, so it wasn't in front of the cell. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm finna get off, and now I gotta deal with this. This video is getting long. Come back for part 2. I'm about to post it right now. This is part 2 to when I found out that one of the inmates was doing K2. So earlier I had called down to the desk and told them like it was something weird going on and I was suspicious. So once I got the note, I called back down to the desk and basically confirmed it. And the lieutenant that was on shift, or I think he was promoted to captain, I don't remember, but he told me like, I got your back, roll him out, put them in the day room, pack his stuff up. I'm gonna come down there, handcuff him, take him to F wing. When you're in prison, there's no such thing as privacy, okay? So when I went to pack his stuff, I saw that it was a letter out right there. So I read it. I read the letter because I wanted to know what was going on. Why was he acting out? What was going through his mind? Was he triggered? It just was very abnormal. And I feel like we notice these signs a lot in people that we care about, but we try to just ignore them, and you shouldn't ignore them. And I'm glad that I didn't ignore it, because when I read that letter, it was from his daughter, and basically she was telling him that she wanted nothing to do with him. He was trying to get a relationship with his daughter and be in her life, but she basically was saying that she doesn't want anything to do with him. He's been in prison, in and out of prison, not taking care of her, and she just didn't want anything to do with him. And a lot of men who are in prison are trying to better themselves, are trying to work on relationships with their families. So I'm sure that really hurt his feelings, and I'm glad that I stepped in, because no telling how this could have ended. I take my security checks very serious. So when we have to do that security check where we got to make sure that you're alive, I'm gonna make sure you're alive, okay? Of course, it's some people who come in there just to get the money or whatever, but I didn't just do that for this. Like, I know that these people made mistakes, and some of these people actually do want to become better people. So it's like, I'm here to help you as much as I can. And when it comes to stuff like this, it's not just about, oh, being a cool CEO and stuff like that. This is for your safety. Like I said, when people are off that stuff, they act crazy. They have super crazy strength. They see different things. So for my safety and for the safety of my coworkers, I took action.